Mr. Speaker, this amendment requires a mission, and we've asked nicely, we've asked persistently, and they've given us no response. So there has to be consequences. And we figure $300 million out of $113 billion is a small price. It's enough to get their attention, hopefully. But who knows? They can't account for billions of dollars at the Pentagon. And instead of holding them accountable for it, even firing anybody, we're giving them even more money. Now, I couldn't be more pro-military. I enlisted in the Army. I got the chance to go to our nation's military academy. I came back as an Army infantry officer, served in Ranger Regiment. I love this country with a soldier's passion. But we got to put our country first. And if we're going to spend money, we should at least demand a mission. And $300 million is a small change. And in fact, before this bill could even make it through the Senate, before appropriations could even come up, they could draft a mission. They could draft a mission today, and they probably have it. The trouble is they have 3 or 4 versions of the mission. The mission to make sure this war doesn't spread to a NATO ally would be a just cause, but it's not clear that's what they're trying to do. They're not pursuing any kind of peace negotiation. The mission to require no Russians in Ukraine could be a just cause, but that's very different than a mission that says no Russians in Ukraine, including Crimea. Each of those are radically different resource allocations. So I want to know, if we're going to give resources, to what mission are you asking me to fund? And here's the really radical one. Victoria Nuland from the State Department says that our mission is regime change in Russia, including war crimes tribunals for Vladimir Putin. Now, if that's our mission, we don't have resources for that fight. That would require us to be in the fight. That's fundamentally a declaration of war. That's an unlimited war of regime change, a war of aggression by the United States, because we have not been attacked. Now, make no mistake, we're using a proxy, but is it a proxy meant to facilitate a broader war with Russia? And unless we demand that mission, how do we hold them accountable for not growing and expanding it? We must demand a mission. I reserve.
The gentleman reserves. The gentlewoman from California is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, sometimes the devil is in the reading. The amendment sounds good, but at the end of the day, it cuts support. And with that, I yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from South Carolina, Representative Wilson.
The gentleman from South Carolina is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Indeed, there should be a strategy of U.S. support to defeat war criminal Putin, and it should be clarified. Sadly, we're in a worldwide conflict that we did not start. It was Putin on February the 24th, 2021, that invaded Ukraine. This began an active conflict in a worldwide competition that we are having, and that is authoritarians, with Putin in control of the Russian Federation and abusing the people of Russia. We have the authoritarians of Beijing, the Chinese Communist Party, threatening the people of Taiwan. And clearly, we also have the regime in Tehran that pledges death to America, death to Israel, the vaporization of the people of Israel. And so this is a worldwide conflict that needs to be addressed. We should have a strategy, and that's why I've introduced legislation, bipartisan, House Resolution 332, to define victory as restoration of Ukraine's 1991 internationally recognized borders. This is territorial integrity for the people of Ukraine. NATO membership, as agreed to in the 2008 Bucharest Declaration, and justice and accountability for war crimes committed by Putin's murderous invaders. The Biden administration, sadly, has not been clear with Congress, but we can be clear because we've got to stand together. And war criminal Putin needs to know that his violations of 9 different agreements is simply not going to be allowed or recognized, that we should have in the tradition of Ronald Reagan, peace through strength. And with that, I urge that we have bipartisan support to encourage the President to clarify the American strategy for Ukrainian victory, which is peace through strength. I yield back.
The gentleman from Ohio is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, the gentleman from South Carolina talks about war criminal Putin. That makes me think he supports regime change in Russia, because that's what it would take to prosecute Vladimir Putin for war crimes. Now, I'm not saying that he's not a war criminal. I'm not saying anything he's done is just. It's not. But the question is that really the mission that we're trying to fund? The sequence is ready, aim, fire for a reason. It's not ready, fire, aim. And it's not too late to pull back and do the rational thing here and commit to a mission so that we can be accountable and we can hold this administration accountable, our military commanders accountable, and frankly, our weak State Department accountable for actually accomplishing a mission. Now, hopefully they succeed and we can say, well done, mission accomplished. But they don't want to be accountable for the mission. That's why they work so hard to oppose this rational standard that was always the cause. Post-Vietnam, we learned we commit to a mission and we commit to an exit strategy. We abandon it at our peril, and we are less free, less safe, and more burdened by debt as a cause of it. We have to demand a mission. I reserve.
Gentleman from Ohio reserves. Gentleman from Ohio's time has expired. The gentleman from California is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the balance of my time to the gentleman from Washington State, Representative Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is one of the great myths of the situation that we don't have a mission. The Biden administration has laid out a very, very clear plan, as I said at the outset. And that plan is do everything we can to help preserve a sovereign democratic Ukraine without going to war with Russia. That is the administration's plan. They have made it clear over and over and over again. Now, there are a lot of different people who have different opinions. This amendment does not ask for Joe Wilson's plan, okay? This amendment asks for the White House, the administration's plan, which we already have. If you want to get Joe's plan, he's sitting right there. I suggest you ask him, all right? The administration has a very clear mission, and that mission doesn't have anything to do with regime change or trying Vladimir Putin. These are all things to discuss. The mission in this conflict, the reason we are supporting Ukraine, is to preserve a sovereign democratic Ukraine, which means helping them take back as much of their territory as they can. Okay, how much they can, it's hard to say. We're supporting them, and because we supported them, there is a sovereign democratic Ukraine. We are also at the same time having conversations with Ukraine, trying to have conversations with Russia about getting to the peace table. Right now, Vladimir Putin isn't willing to do that. He wants to destroy Ukraine, and we are helping Ukraine protect themselves. The mission is clear. Using this excuse of a report to cut off the funds for the mission is not the right approach. You can disagree with the mission if you want. I understand that. It's a democracy. We can have that conversation. But let's please stop saying that there isn't clarity. There is absolute clarity. President Biden, Jake Sullivan, Chairman Milley, Secretary Austin have said over and over and over again, we are helping Ukraine defend itself so we can preserve a sovereign democratic Ukraine and stop Russia from wiping them off the map. That's the mission. Thus far, it's been successful. We want to help them retake more territory. I urge opposition to this amendment, and I yield back.